Hi, and welcome to Unspoken History. My name is Keisha, and thank you for joining me. I'm going to be reading from my book, Amid the Twisted History, and I'm going to show a quick little video to go along with it. But the section that I'm reading is called Federalist number 55. It's from the Federalist Papers. Um, these were the papers that were used to draft the Constitution. And so I'm going to read this because I think this was Alexander Hamilton talking. He had a fear that America was never going to be the free and just nation that they drafted the Constitution for it to be. Like the whole idea of this free and just society where all men are free and all men are created equal. Yeah, the fear 250 years ago was that that wouldn't happen. And this says, Federalist number 55. I am unable to conceive that the people of America in their present temper or under any circumstances which can speedily happen will choose and every second year repeat the choice of 65 or 100 men who would be disposed to form and pursue a scheme of tyranny or treachery. I am unable to conceive that the state legislators, which must feel so many motives to watch and which possess so many means of counteracting the federal legislature would fail either to detect or to defeat a conspiracy of the latter against the liberties of their common constituents. I am unable to conceive that there are at this time or can be in any short time in the United States any 65 or 100 men capable of recommending themselves to the choice of the people at large who would either desire or dare within the short space of 2 years to betray the solemn trust committed to them. What chance of circumstances, time, and a fuller population of our country may produce requires a prophetic spirit to declare, which makes no part of my pretensions. So he was not saying, I'm not trying to prophesy, but this was 250 years ago. So he was definitely prophesying. He just didn't know. But judging from the circumstances now before us, and from the probable state of them within a moderate period of time, I must pronounce that the liberties of America cannot be unsafe in the number of hands proposed by the federal Constitution. This sounds like fear to me. They were afraid that America would end up where she is today, a place of lies and deceit. Okay, and then the last thing I was going to read is on page 114. It's not short, it's a couple pages. Okay, I'm starting at the bottom of page 14. Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin Luther King Jr. said that he had a dream of a free and just society for all Americans. Where did Martin get the idea from? And why did he have this idea of America? Martin knew that that what was written in the Constitution of the United States of America was for him also. He knew that something was wrong with the system. He knew that the Negroes were being excluded from everything, including protections under the law. The protest The protest was an attempt to try to force the government to do what was right under the law. Why was Martin killed and his dream never fulfilled? But instead, America has over the last 150 years usurped the rights and privileges of its constitutionally protected citizens. They said that this would happen. Many of our founding fathers said that if we as Americans did not give the Negro what is rightfully his, this great nation that we are establishing will never come to be. There are many people who believe that we had a great nation of freedom, excuse me, and the American dream. Everybody wanted it, but only a fruit, I can't say that word. Only a few could really achieve it. What everyone has come to America for the past 150 years has been an illusion, not a fulfillment of a dream. This government of the United States of America, along with every state government in this union, all agreed to strip the Negro of their rights and privileges. The rules, acts, and lies continue unto this day. Freedom that now sounds like a joke to me. because none of us are free. The events that are happening in our country today are a direct result of what was happening to the rights and privileges of Negroes over the past 150 years. We have never had freedom of speech or protection under the law. We were denied the right to vote in most of the United States, the right to travel, lodge, or participate in society without punishment or scrutiny. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is a victim of unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavily with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels and highway of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and the Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote for. Martin Luther King Jr. This world is a very confusing place to live in. Nothing is true, just, or honest, and we can't seem to do anything about it. This battle is going to take everyone in America standing up against injustice, as Martin states in his I Have a Dream speech. King hoped that one day every freedom loving American would see the injustice and fight against it. Freedom and equal treatment did not happen for the Negro while Martin was alive. It has been over 50 years since the death of Martin Luther King Jr., and that dream is still a dream. Frederick Douglass knew the Constitution and the Bill of Rights protected the Negro from infringement, but he too died without any sign of change. These founders, the founders of the new American society, could see where the newly founded United States was heading. I believe that they were afraid by the tone of their statements. I believe that they knew that it just wasn't going to happen and that all that they had worked for to achieve was blowing away each and every day. America has not forgotten, excuse me, America has not gotten better for the Negro. It remains the same. However, in this current state of America, almost everyone has been regulated to slave status. There was warning after warning about aligning yourselves with evil men who had no interest in our free and just society. I believe that they knew that the Constitution was was in the way of their new global world. Non-Negro Americans continued the law-breaking, unconstitutional actions against their fellow Americans. Some people still believe that it's their right to steal, lie, cheat, and kill to get whatever they want. These are the kind of people Americans elected to run our country. The 2016 presidential election was a tremendous eye-opener for a great number of American people. Martin and Frederick said it best. There would be no moving forward in America without the inclusion of the American Negro. They said that this was not possible. How and or why did they believe that? American society was intertwined with the Negroes? Because these two men clearly stated that the Negro was American and that his rights were being trampled upon by white American citizens. For a long time, white people could complain that it was not fair that Negroes should be equal to whites, and their complaints were acted upon. The Negro has complained about his mistreatment for over 150 years, and every one of those complaints were ignored. Negroes were told that they were liars and that no one was mistreating them. The school system, the housing system, the banking system, and the workforce had everyone in agreement to help keep the Negro subjugated. People who worked in these institutions were telling the Negro, sorry, you're not smart enough for our school. Sorry, you're not moving into our neighborhood. Sorry, we can't give you, sorry, we can't give you a loan or mortgage. Sorry, Negroes, you can't read, so you can't vote. The 2016 presidential election brought light to the scandalous practices of our American and state governments. White Americans closed their eyes to the atrocities and the now newly named African Americans face. Now there are books and articles that speak about the rights and freedoms of white Americans. Freedoms you once enjoyed are no longer available to you. Everyone is trying to hold on to the Constitution for protection against the power of the elite ruling class. I have a question. Didn't you fight all of Europe to be free from the tyranny and oppression of the monarchs of Europe? How then did the new Americans allow this tyranny here? So was the Revolutionary War fought for nothing? And your children and grandchildren, and your children and the children of the Aboriginal Americans are now back in the hands of a monarchy. Therefore, you and I both are now slaves to their establishment. Okay, so I have a video of JD Vance talking about this country not having constitutionality or on the lines of that. So let's watch the video.
Vance that has resurfaced. I'm going to show you this clip, and then I'm going to tell you why this matters. Whether we have functional constitutional government in this country, if the IRS can go after you because of what you think or what you believe or what you do, we'd no longer live in a free country. That's what this is all about. And if you think they're not going to eventually use it against your politics, whatever they might be, it's ridiculous. They certainly will.
I can also assure you that were this a Republican president, a Republican attorney general, and a Republican IRS that were targeting Democrats, I at least would speak out just as vigorously against it. Because if we are going to respect rule of law, the apparatus of the federal government cannot and should not be used as a partisan tool to bludgeon your enemies.
I can tell you that what's become clearly apparent is a culture throughout the federal government, not just the IRS, but the Department of Justice, the State Department, etc. We've seen that now through 3 different incidents that basically use the government as an instrument of political activity, to target your political opponents, to make life difficult for people that are saying things that you don't like, to make life difficult for whistleblowers that are saying things about the State Department that you don't like. And I believe that all that comes from the top of any organization. So I think that's where the questions are increasingly leading. And it's embarrassing for the country. These are things you typically see in the third world.
I think the conservative Tea Party groups were intentionally targeted as critics of the administration, and that people used the power the IRS gave them over these groups to silence one group and let the other group flourish, and that's bad for democracy.
They systematically and for a sustained period of time targeted people for exercising their most fundamental right, their right to speak in a political fashion, their free speech rights under the First Amendment. And they went after conservative groups. They were put on a list. They were denied their taxes and status. So, of course, there was targeting.
The point that he's raising with regard to how the IRS is now sort of in this role of stepping on the scales to determine what is or isn't political speech, to me, seems to be completely outside the realm of what the IRS ought to be about.
JD Vance says this is about whether we have a functional constitutional government in this country. If the IRS can go after you because of what you think or what you believe or what you do, we'd no longer live in a free.
So him using the whole situation with the IRS as a way to say that we're not constitutionally protected. Well, that ain't the reason why. So him saying that now really just makes me wonder why. Why is he saying it now? Is he saying it now because they're getting ready to prove to us that we don't have constitutionality? They're proving it when they surveil you, when they're looking at all of our information on our laptops and taking stuff from our laptops and our phone and looking at us when we're in our house and following us around. You got no rights. But it's fun to believe you do. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.